Chapter 9 Delta 2.
In the air car, Zentran and Phora felt a growing awareness of Zak's beingness. They approached the location Phora knew Zak had last frequented. The sense of him grew stronger. The city of Fraxon, where Zak now lived, was known for its casinos and nightlife. Phora shared Zentran's anticipation, not so much in seeing Zak again, but from the feeling she experienced through Zentran. She leaned over and laid her hand on his shoulder.
You're still so close after all this time.
Next to you, he's the best friend I'm ever likely to have. I know he's reckless and an exhibitionist, but that's his way. One thing's assured, he's always good company.
What do you think he's doing now?
Last time we communicated, he was a restaurant waiter here in Fraxon.
They parked the air car and made their way through holidaymakers, walking along a strip. People from various parts of the Confederation were evident. Although they conformed to similar body makeups, some appeared ape-like. Their muscular physiques and body hair contrasted with the slender builds of others, with narrow noses and large round eyes. Zentran sensed Zak's close proximity. He guided Phora through the crowd.
That's the restaurant over there.
Zak became aware of Zentran and Phora as well, with some surprise. A considerable number of sun revolutions had elapsed since the three of them had been together. A waiter met Zentran and Phora as they entered the Tarkton restaurant. They were shown to an exclusive table on a raised floor overlooking a stage.
Zak will join you shortly,
indicated the waiter.
He sensed us as well.
Zentran's thoughts confirmed Phora's. Ornaments depicting 1,000 solar revolutions of space travel caught Zentran's interest. On the stage, an extraordinarily beautiful girl performed seated at a Votron, a musical instrument with illuminated keys and a tactile touch. Her fingers moved with dexterity through the colored lights of the instrument's keyboard. The resulting music filled the restaurant with wondrous melodies and intricate harmonies. She projected her music to reach everyone in the audience. Zentran and Phora found themselves compelled to listen intently, marveling at the girl's performance. A tall figure approached, crossing the lower floor. He was dressed in a distinguished, close-fitting, all-in-one silver suit. The suit, containing a gold diagonal stripe across the chest, was a far cry from a waiter's uniform. The flamboyant outfit suited Zak, who noted his friend's mental approval as he joined them at their table.
It's good to see you again, Zak. And I must say, you're looking prosperous,
confirmed Zentran.
It goes with the position. A restaurant owner is supposed to look the part.
There was a pause for a moment longer than there should have been. Amused, Zak continued.
Well, I can see that took everyone by surprise.
Zentran was surprised and pleased.
Being surprised shouldn't be surprising when the unexpected is your norm. You have an amazing aptitude for change. Owning a restaurant suits you.
I'm glad for you, Zak.
Phora reflected seriously. Zak noticed the additional yellow triangle within the star formation on Zentran's interplanetary starship uniform.
You're a captain now.
With your and Zen's ability, any position is attainable. But the higher you move, the more cautious you have to be.
How did you come to own the restaurant?
Zach didn't answer as the girl at the Votron finished playing. The absence of music left the background noise of the restaurant unchecked. Zach glanced at the girl and beckoned her to join them.
It's quite a long story. I'll fill you in later, but for now let me say that I didn't plan it. I kind of inherited the place, and I'm just going with the flow.
The girl approached the table. She had a dark complexion with long black hair that reached down to her waist. Her large brown eyes were set far apart, blending with her straight narrow nose and full mouth.
Let me introduce you to Venrue, who besides being a very accomplished musician, is also the best looking employee I have.
Zentran stood up and looked into her eyes. He remembered his embarrassment the previous time Zach had introduced him to a girl. Not wanting to put his foot in it again, he examined the thought flows surrounding him. He sensed that Zach was very attached to her. Phora was curious and Venrue a little uneasy. Her eyes were clear and bright and revealed nothing as she returned Zentran's gaze. He could tell that although Venrue was intelligent, she was not aware of the thoughts flowing around her. Zach continued.
Venrue, I would like you to meet two very good friends of mine, Phora and Zentran. Zentran and I go back a long way, and the last good-looking girl I introduced him to became his girlfriend. So you'll have to be wary of him.
Phora laughed as they were seated.
Zach, I had no idea you cared.
She turned to Venrue.
He's referring to me, but we're just teasing.
Venrue made herself comfortable and turned to Phora.
I'm learning fast about Zach. The only serious thing about him is that he's never serious.
They laughed. Zach, now the center of attention, retorted.
And that's not serious at all.
Zach and Venrue were obviously close. Zentran was curious as to how much she really knew about Zach. Although Delta 2 appeared freer than Delta 4b, it was still very much part of the Confederation. People spoke about non-materialistic matters intellectually, but even here, lookalikes were plentiful. Arrests could be made anywhere.
I liked the music piece you were playing.
Zentran understated it. In fact, he'd never heard anything so inspiring.
Where does it come from?
Venrue looked at Zentran, glanced at Zach, who smiled. She looked back at Zentran.
It's a piece I wrote with Zach's help.
Oh, that's interesting.
Phora added.
Yes, he helped me reach deep inside for inspiration.
Zentran smiled knowingly at Zach. Zach took the opportunity to elaborate on Venrue's talent.
She's the most sought-after musician in Fraxon and never had a hint of tuition. Being totally self-taught, her creativity hasn't been conditioned.
Venrue added.
I'm glad you liked the piece.
Zentran picked up nothing, indicating Venrue knew of Zach's abilities. A musician of her caliber had been a musician in many previous lives. Only memories are lost to new lifetimes. Somehow, abilities managed to stay intact. Zach had helped reach her intrinsic creativity.
Well done in retrieving her underlying inspiration.
Came from Zentran.
How did you know she was safe to work with in that area?
One can never know for sure, I just had a good feeling about it.
Yes,
Zentran confirmed.
that's how you normally operate.
I liked your music as well, Venrue. It's really exhilarating.
Phora moved back in her chair.
It's good to see someone transcending boundaries and transcribing it to art.
Zentran's technical training had never encompassed the field of creativity. Implications of art and Phora's last statement found a place in his mind where images of the desert in the Twilight sector resided. There too was home to his childhood memories of Phora. He looked at his lady, She was a lot more amazing than just her appearance. Phora reached for his hand. The feeling was mutual. The silence that persisted briefly in the material realm didn't have time to become uncomfortable. Zack beckoned, and a waiter arrived quickly.
I trust everyone would like refreshments.
The waiter took the order, and a moment later returned with the tray. Zentran reiterated his thoughts aloud as a courtesy to his friend's intriguing companion.
Art is a fascinating subject. It exists on a much higher plane than the physical sciences and takes a special individual to express it.
The world of technology had little reality to Venrue, but she understood Zentran's inference.
Thank you, Zentran. Music does seem to reside in an area above the technology of the Votron used to convey it.
which is received by your audience.
Phora added. Venrue finished her refreshment.
Please excuse me, it's time for my next set.
She looked at Zack with a grin.
I especially like contributing to his sense of well-being.
With the renewal of her music, Phora and Zack looked at Zentran in earnest. They knew what was going through his mind. Zentran spoke softly, although he didn't need to. It was for the benefit of onlookers. What he spoke about had little to do with what passed between them mentally.
I've verified a new breed of lookalikes have increased perception into mental realm activity. Their enhanced searching capacity has virtually annihilated the likes of us. They were tracking you by the mental command you were putting out in your attempt to access the Council's computer system on Delta 4B. When I neutralized your command behind you and put out another suggestion, it confused them.
Besides their electronic sensing ability,
Phora added.
they are monitored and controlled by microwave signals hooked up to the central computer in a bunker below Alpha 1. How you managed to get away from them, Zack, is nothing short of miraculous.
Zentran helped, and I destroyed a lot of them on my way out. They were taken by surprise.
It seems they've never encountered anything as strong as you before.
Perhaps. Thanks for being there.
Zack smiled.
I owe you yet another one. What were you doing at Alpha 1 building?
Zentran looked at Phora. She laughed.
I just got back from my long trip and wanted to propose the possibility of marriage to Phora sometime in the future.
Zack beamed.
I'd like to be the best man.
Zentran continued aloud.
Thank you. We'll need your service in that regard, as Phora has consented. Only the date is undecided.
Does that mean you're engaged?
I suppose it does.
Well, let me be the first to congratulate the two of you.
Zack reached across the table in his extrovert manner, joined hands with them, and lifted their hands in the air. Venrue, noticing from the stage, played the appropriate melody for such occasions. The melody had existed in various forms, in many different cultures, but now resonated in her unique interpretation. Zack lifted his glass when she was finished.
Here's to the two of you, my very best friends. I don't know anyone who deserves each other more.
Thanks, Zack.
Phora and Zentran said in unison and picked up their glasses in acknowledgement. It tasted good. Zack's heartfelt sentiments were appreciated.
Fill us in on what you've been doing, Zack. You've obviously been very busy. What were you doing trying to access the council computer system? And how did you come to inherit this restaurant?
And I want to know how you met Venrue.
Added Phora.
It goes back some time. I started as a waiter here a while ago.
Zack cast his mind back. Zentran and Phora followed his thoughts as a vivid account of his experiences unfolded.